To get started with your assignment, you need someone to model for you, or you need some sort of visual reference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this image from this magazine. So looking at the size paper I have here, I want this person to take up most of the paper. So I think for what they're doing, really, I want to turn this horizontal. So some of the samples you saw before were turned vertical. So you're going to decide which way to format your paper based on the gesture the person is in that you're looking at and how you're going to arrange them in your composition. So what I'm going to do is look at what we talked about doing before, where I'm going to start with that gesture drawing sketch. So here I'm going to start with the shape for his head, and actually looking at it, I notice right away the head is here, his arm is out and it's up high, so I need to drop this down. I'm not going to worry about erasing that right now. I can always erase that later. So then his backbone, he's sort of leaning to the side with his neck. There's a little bit of curve here because of the way that he's climbing on that wall. So then I'm going to do the line for the shoulders, the shape for the torso. This gives me a place where I can attach his arms, but it doesn't give me a place where I can do his legs, so I need to include his hips. So I'm going to do a round shape for that. So the arm seems to go out towards the rock climbing grip. There's a slight, very subtle bend in the elbow, so I'm going to indicate where the elbow is. And there and here again is his hand. Off to the side here we have his other arm down to the elbow. I'm going to look at things like where's his shoulder, where's his elbow in relation to his shoulder. It is lower, so I want it lower in the gesture drawing. And then out here, I would extend it and there would be his hand. So then looking at things like his waist, his hips, his knee is up higher, so that's going to tell me to turn the leg this way. If I look, his knee is actually directly under his elbow. So I can use that as a way to know if I am drawing this the correct size, the correct shape. His leg is bent, and actually I should bend it more this way, so I'm going to go a little darker with this, so that his foot actually ends up right underneath his hips there. So then I'm going to put his foot, his other leg is going this way. The knee, if I look at it, it's out past the elbow, so I'm going to go a little bit higher. So if I create that visual line, here's his elbow, but his knee is out past it. It extends this way, and here's his foot. So this could be a lot of different people, depending on what I do this later. I stick a lightsaber in his hand, it's somebody from Star Wars. So being that he's crawling up the wall, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with making it look like Spider-Man. So I can look at the image here if I don't have a live model too, and think about what the actual muscles are doing here. What details I would put to do, basically we call it putting meat on the bones. So I don't want to play connect the dots. If I just connected the dots, then all of a sudden what would happen is I would have this person that looks like a balloon animal. So we don't want that effect. So here I would go this way. This would go along here. So these lines should be inside of his body, not the actual side of his body. If you get confused, if I grab my leg around my knee, which you can't see me doing right now, but if I do that, then I can feel, well, my leg actually gets more narrow at my knee. But then because of the shape of your leg, it actually goes back out again. So this part where your calf muscle is would be thicker. So then reaching out this way, there's his foot. So this looks like Spider-Man jumping through the air, or he could be actually climbing up a wall right now. Here, his shoulder is going to overlap that a little bit. So I would continue drawing, adding meat to the bones, adding musculature, adding clothing and details if I need to. I'm not going to sit here and draw the web design on Spider-Man's costume if that's what it's supposed to be, because in a silhouette we'll see the shape, but we won't actually see the details and colors. Now, if you find yourself in a position, because I think a lot of people might do a really good job on this, but you might find that you drew it too small. Well, drawing it too small, that actually gives you the opportunity to practice a little bit more, because here where I drew a smaller version of Spider-Man, over here I did a gesture drawing of one of the villains from Spider-Man where they're actually attacking each other. So I have a lot of action actually happening here. So I'm going to show another clip of another example I could do in just a second. So you can get started on yours, but if you want to move on to the next clip to see another example, go on to that one first.